This group is a World Cup in. They have experience. They're all playing in Europe for the most part. That experience that you typically get from Tim Ream, that's not important anymore.
All right, let's move back to the center back situation. We had Chris Richards, who was immense for Palace and has been very good since getting himself into the team, and they've had a real change in just the results, consistently getting results since he's been back in the team. It's not all down to him, but I think he's been a big part of getting that consistency. Mark McKenzie, I thought that injury concern that he had a couple weeks ago was going to be bigger than it is. He's back in the team for Toulouse and playing well and being solid. Do you think those two guys, for me, I think this is what we're going to see. We're going to have Chris Richards and Mark McKenzie in the back line against Panama in the semifinal of the Nations League.
I would be shocked if that wasn't the case.
Right. Yeah. I guess if Joe Scally, is Joe Scally going to be the guy that's next to them? Or do you shift it and make Tim Ream's been playing left back for Charlotte? Is Tim Ream's going to get called in? Do you think he starts? Or is it time to move on from Tim Ream?
I don't think he starts. And this is the question I was going to ask you, Jimmy. Tim Ream was initially brought in, right, because he caught form at Fulham, but before that, I'd say it was based on experience because the team was so young and they needed someone who had experience. He was a captain at Fulham, and then he went on this run of being incredible, right? Because he was out of the picture for a while, and then he starts and he's the best center back that we have. Now this group is a World Cup in. They have experience. They're all playing in Europe for the most part. That experience that you typically get from Tim Ream, that's not important anymore, right? Holding people accountable. You have guys who can do that. Do you think he's still needed as much given his talent where the center back pool is? Or do you think, he's still important given that his experience, even if he's not playing?
Well, when I think about your World Cup experience, none of the center backs, okay, Ream played, Walker Zimmerman played, Cameron Carter-Vickers played. Like Richards, McKenzie, they're not the ones with the World Cup experience. I know what you're saying, though. I mean, Jedi, obviously captain of Fulham. He has the experience. Matt Turner behind him. He's got the experience. Tyler Adams, like everybody else around them.
Serginho Dest, who started, who's creeping back to play now. So
basically they'll be cushioned with World Cup experience around them. But would it be nice to have, especially in the center, as a former center back myself, when you're leading a lot of the communication, when you're the eyes of the field, because sometimes when you're higher up the field, especially if you're trying to hold a higher line, which is what I think Pochettino wants to do, right? At times, be very aggressive.
But that's not Tim Ream's strength then, if you're talking about higher line.
Well, yes, it's not. But I think in terms of athleticism, but in terms of smarts and intelligence and positioning, I think he's awesome at that. So so you can't trust a World Cup experienced Matt Turner to help you with that when you're playing high up the field because he only has so much involvement. All that communication has to come from your center backs, and you got to put people in good positions to make that happen. Not to say that Mark McKenzie and Chris Richards can't do that, but they don't have that experience at the highest of levels.
Yeah, but none guys the World Cup either. So,
right? No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Right? It's just. This whole group went into World Cup and no one had World Cup experience. And now you're flipping it and saying most of the group has World Cup experience and a few don't, but you're only adding more talent to the squad that hasn't had World Cup experience. And then you have a manager like Mauricio Pochettino who's getting his first opportunity to manage in a World Cup.
Yeah, it's fair. And there's a good shout here from Des in our private chat that Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty have Champions League experience where Tim Ream doesn't, and that should have some value. 100%. We should update you that Austin Trusty came out after 27 minutes in Celtics game this past weekend. I don't know what that means. We don't know how long term that is, but for someone who was right there on the cusp, I think of potentially being looked at and being brought in, that could be really disappointing. But he might be looking at the Gold Cup anyway as his chance to really break into the team. So yeah, I just wanted to have, or at least explore the experience side of it, because it clearly matters. So the comfort level that you have in high pressure situations, the more you're comfortable in those, the better off the whole team is going to be in solving problems, especially when you have, in transition or whatever it may be. The more reps you have in those moments, the better. I I'm just kind of curious as to where Scally fits into this, because if you're going to go with Scally, who's been quietly solid, there's nothing much to say one way or the other about him. Though I feel like Jesse said something that he doesn't play. He's just not as aggressive when Jesse was back as our co-host and not the manager of Canada now. But I remember him taking a shot at Joe Scally that he wanted more from him. But in this system, he's being asked to sit a little bit. I think that McKenzie and Richards will start. They're probably the two sharpest center backs in the pool at the moment, who are playing regular minutes and looking good. And McKenzie can slot in on the left side, and Scally could be on the right, and Richards could sit in the middle. And then you have Jedi and whoever you want on the right side. It could be Weah, it could be Musa, it could be a whole host of options. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting times. Again, though, Chuck, it's funny because before it felt like we were having conversations is like, wow, who's really going to be? And now we have plenty of options in multiple positions. This is a good thing.
This is the thing, Jimmy. This is the last time that Pochettino will have his full squad competing for a trophy before the World Cup. This is the last time. No? He won't have the full squad.
Well, yeah, because you missed the Juve guys and potentially Gio. Though I think Gio won't be with Dortmund in the summer, so he could be available. However, he's going to a new club.
You think Christian's playing Gold Cup?
I think it depends on the. Yeah, that's a good time to give these guys rest. But you're also trying. This is the only time you're going to have the group together in a somewhat similar environment to the World Cup itself, right? Where you have a couple week lead up into the camp or a camp into the tournament. Then you're around each other in a group stage, and you're working through kind of the rhythm of what that looks like. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting balancing act. This isn't isolated to the U.S., but do you want to give your players that rest? Because if you don't give them that rest over the summer, where are they going to get it leading up to the World Cup? They're just not going to get it at all. Yeah, I think we could have a mixed squad in the Gold Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, so in doing that, I think the only player that is probably just coming back that probably won't feature in this is Sergiño Dest. So that's the only question mark is what does he do with Sergiño Dest and how does that change the system? And because Sergiño Dest isn't going to do what Joe Scally does. That's for damn sure. Right. So
no.
I think that'll be interesting to see does he put Sergiño Dest in that right wing position? If you had to choose between Yunus Musa and Sergiño Dest, is that the competition? So just curious how Pochettino sees the team.
I agree. This is going to be an interesting roster, not only for the Nations League, but also for the Gold Cup moving forward. And I think a lot of it could be dictated by the health of players and who's available and who's not. I know you're sad. We've come to the end of the video, but if you want more average to good content from your favorite former U.S. men's national team players, this is the channel to make it happen. Go look at our other videos, go look at our playlists. And if you want more of the content, the best way to make that happen is to hit like, hit subscribe, and then turn on all of your notifications so that you do not miss anything that we drop or when we go live or whatever it may be. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.